Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about watches. So I know this is a bag YouTube channel, or as I like to say, bag tube, but I have recently been getting more and more into watches. I do feel like there's quite a bit of a parallel between the watch world and the bag world. Both are, I wouldn't call them essentials. When you really get into bag collecting, it's really sort of an excess. I would call it unnecessary, which I also think is, watches at this point. You could just look at your phone. You could get like a $20 Casio. Anything in the luxury watch world is also unnecessary. And then, there's the high-end brands. There's like the indie brands or the micro brands. So, in the bag world, Hermes is at the top there. You have to sort of pay to play. You have to pre-spend to get the thing that you really want, which, translates very easily in the Rolex world. It's sort of the same thing. There's wait lists, and if you really want something, you're going to have to buy other things to maybe, get bumped up on that wait list. And then, there's the micro brands, there are the indie brands, the watch world. The one that I hear a lot about is like Christopher Ward. That could be like the Polen in the bag world. So a lot of parallels. The expenditure for watches is much higher. It costs way more than a bag, but also there's a lot more mechanical value there. A lot of brands, when it comes to bags, are just trading on their name, not necessarily any sort of technical skill in making the bags or quality of the materials. Definitely no precious metals, maybe coated hardware, but even then it's not like a gold watch or, but anyways, I haven't really been into watches so much. Like, I do like a nice watch. I would say my entry into it has been Cartier. So I do have a blog post here from 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even more, about my Cartier watches that were sort of the entry level for me. Of that set, I only have one still in my collection. So I sold the Tank to a blog reader at the time, which I'm glad I went to a blog reader because now I kind of regret selling it. I sold it for like $1,600. It's all silver. It's a classic, it's beautiful. I got that one through Fashion File, and I took a little bit of a loss on it when I sold it to a reader, but it is what it is. And then I did buy another Cartier. I think it was like the Rondo or something. It was a round watch. I bought it retail and lost a lot of money on that. I think I might have sold that one to Fashion File. Anyway, so the one that has lasted and probably the oldest watch in my collection is this one right here. So this is one that they no longer make. It is the Cartier Demoiselle Santos, I think you can call it. I love it because, it is, I think, solid 18 karat gold with the stainless steel. I'm a huge fan of two-tone watches because I do wear a lot of silver and gold. Just something very like tacky to me of a solid gold watch. Like, I just can't, I don't know. It's just not me, maybe I should say that. No offense to solid gold watch owners out there. I apologize. But to me, I just like the two-tone aesthetic. And so this was my first two-tone watch. I'm not a huge fan of how shiny it is. I did get it off of eBay for about $2,000. And I was very nervous because, you don't know if it's real or not, but I just kind of trusted my gut on that seller. And I did take it to Cartier to get serviced, and they authenticated it then. Not that they give any sort of authentication, but obviously if it was a fake, they would say something. So I've had this quite a few years. I do see myself possibly passing this down to my child just because it is such a beautiful watch. The watch face is quite small. And of course, it's a quartz movement, as most Cartier watches are. Back then, I didn't really care. I'm only starting to really get into it now. Let's see, after that, I didn't purchase a watch for a long time. Like, I never really wore a watch. I didn't like the feel of it on my wrist. I would just check my phone if I ever needed to know the time. But I did want to get a watch when I started going back to work after I had my kid. I was working at a zero waste shop for a little bit. And so this was sort of my daily wear. And this one is just a Raymond Weil watch. And so I think Raymond Weil, I don't know if they still sell them at Macy's, but I think they used to sell them at Macy's. They usually go for like $500-ish, but I got this off the RealReal for $80, which was a steal. Nowadays, I think Raymond Weil, since this is, around, I guess I got this around 2021, but nowadays when I look on the RealReal, they're priced at least $100 150, 180. I think the cheapest you can find is like under 200, which I think is still great for a watch. You know, it's very practical. It's a quartz movement. I think it's just stainless steel. Raymond Weil, it is supposed to be, oh, this is 18 karat gold plated. It is supposed to be Swiss made. So there's that. I think it was a men's watch, and so I used a leather hole puncher to be able to get these holes on the inside here to fit my smaller wrists, but probably one of the bigger faced watches that I own right now. But I really like it. I mean, it does kind of look like the Cartier tank without being the Cartier tank. Honestly, if you are kind of new to the watch world and you want a nice looking watch, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, I actually think Raymond Weil is it's a great alternative, you know. I mean, if you bought it retail, it's like $500 to $600. So no one's going to really know that you bought it off the real for like less than $2. And then no one's going to know I bought this one off for $80. So yeah, that's a great practical watch. I mean, I bought it for $80 because I thought, well, like if I lost it or if it broke, like it's not a huge investment. And then the one after that would be my Hermes Cape Cod watch, again, quartz. I got this off of Brandier. It was my first watch off of Brandier, but not my last. And I did go get my straps replaced this past summer at Hermes in Hawaii, and that sort of was the gateway for me to get my Neo Garden Party 23. I started off by purchasing this, and then I was like, oh, do you happen to have the garden party, the mini garden party? And she's like, why, yes, we do. So yeah, I mean, it does have happy memories for me. I do wear this every time I go into Hermes to show like, hey, you know, I'm buying into all your products here, even though I did buy this secondhand. But that is a nice thing about getting an Hermes watch secondhand, is like the straps on this were gross. And you can just go to the Hermes boutique and like choose whichever one you want. I went for an exotic, I think this is crocodile alligator in a blue. It's actually quite beautiful. Hermes, their forte is leather, so you know, their watch bands are gonna be very lovely. And they're also very easy to switch out. There's a quick release lever back here. I would say the only thing is when you do buy the strap, it comes as strap only, so it is actually really hard to find the clasp hardware on this. So if you do find it at an Hermes store, maybe buy multiples, in which case then you could easily change out the straps to whichever one you want. You know, you could always do a double tour if that's your thing. So that was next. So I got this, I think, for a relatively good price. I think I got the watch itself for like $200 to $300. Still working, works well, works with batteries. So the thing with Brandier though is like they'll sell watches that they'll disclose that it's not working. You know, it could be a battery issue, like you just need to change out the battery, or it could be something else. So you don't know. So they do sell watches cheap, but they will say not working. So I stay away from those. I only buy the ones that work because I don't want to have to then spend another couple $100 trying to figure out what's wrong with it. So, but I did get this for a fairly good price. I waited for it to go like on further markdown, and then, but the strap itself was pretty expensive. I want to say it was like $500. So total is about $800, I would say, which I think is worth it actually, because like I think with exotic for a small Cape Cod, I think it's closer to 2,000. Yeah, to me, it's worth it. I love it. So the one I got after that, so once I bought that off of Brandier, I got this next. This is a vintage octagonal Santos from Cartier. It's pretty old, I would say. I don't know how old. For the longest time, this has been my favorite watch. And I would still say it's my favorite. I like the utilitarian look. I like the screws. It actually goes pretty well with my love bracelet, you know, because of the screw motif. But I do like the gold bezel. Yeah, that's the word, gold bezel. It's very comfortable, and I like that there's only one clasp here, so that makes it super easy to take off and on. If I need a good, reliable watch, this is my go-to. After that, off of Brandier, again, I got this. So this is my first, and if you saw my November purchases here, this is my first automatic watch. Longines. Automatic with a black dial and diamond markers. It's actually really pretty. I kind of bought it on impulse because I was like, I want to get into the automatic watch world, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. Longines, I mean, it's supposedly on the affordable end, but they're still like $1,000 to $2,000 depending on what you get. I got this one secondhand from Brandier for about $350, maybe about $400, which I thought was a great deal. I actually really like the like, it's called the exhibition case, but you know, being able to see the movement in the back, I mean, that's kind of what makes these automatic watches special, right? Like, to be able to see sort of the mechanics of it. I don't wear it that often because honestly, it's a little bit tight. So I bought it as is, which luckily it's working, but the watch strap itself is quite small. So it actually just barely fits on my wrist. I got lucky. I thought I was gonna have to go and buy an extra link off of eBay. Like, I knew it wasn't gonna be that much smaller, so I thought maybe buy one extra link, but an extra link on eBay for this Longines, it was just called the Elegant watch, is $50, you know, so there, it does fit, you know, but it is quite tight, but it looks good. I actually really like the dark dial, the black dial. This is my only watch with a black dial. I hope to get another one. And then this is my first mechanical watch. So mechanical means you gotta wind it periodically. This is from a brand called Edox, which when I looked it up is sort of like a Swiss company that's really not that popular, but I love it. You just wind it up and you can see all the mechanics. So this is, I think, called a skeleton watch. Basically 100% see-through, so you can see everything that's going on with this watch. The thing about this winding one though, I do think I need to get it serviced, which it's kind of a bummer because I'm sure it's gonna be hella expensive. So that's another thing about watches. Like, when you start getting into them, it's like if you don't service them, you know, and you don't, then what's the point? Why are you buying them? You do need to maintain your watches. I guess sort of like you need to maintain bags, but you know, to maintain bags, you just put a little leather cleaner. Sure, you know, if it's an Hermes, you can take it to the spa for $300, but you know, watch servicing, it's not cheap. And then last but not least, the one that I have been wearing a ton is this Rolex. It's a vintage Rolex from, I would say, the early 2000s. I think that's what it was sold to me as. I got this one from Fashion File. So I actually bought 2 other Rolexes from the Real, and I think one of them was fake. I got it for $2,500. It was a little too good of a deal. I basically compared it to 2 other Rolexes, including this one, and I'm pretty sure that one was fake. Then it was deciding between this pink-faced one, they call it salmon dial, and the other one that was also a vintage Rolex. And I decided to go with the salmon color just because it was a little different. And again, the Real one, I'm just a little bit nervous. But the nice thing about the Real ones is that you can return it. So there's that. But this one also came with its box and everything, so it's really nice. Of course, it all looks a little vintage. You know, it is a vintage watch. So I decided to keep it, even though this one was probably the most at about, I think I got it during the Black Friday sales. They had extra 10% off. So I think I got it for about 36, 37 before tax. And then with tax, it really bumped it up to just under 4, which is a lot. But yeah, I mean, this is sort of what my interest has led to lately. If you are interested in getting into the watch world, or maybe you already are, some of my favorite YouTube channels to watch is Mike from This Watch, That Watch, which I already mentioned before. I also do like Britt Pierce, she's one of the few, I feel like, female voices in the watch world. And then of course there's Teddy, who's like the really big watch dude who has his own store. So, you know, it's really interesting. I do have to say I'm more of a dress watch type of gal. I don't like the sporty, like the Submariners or the GMTs. I don't like big, heavy watches. And so, I mean, sadly, Rolex no longer makes watches in this size. So this is a 24 millimeter, which is the smallest size I think they've ever made. For a while, they were making 26, and then currently Rolex only makes a 28. Along with Tudor, I've also checked out Tudor, and I'm interested in getting maybe a Tudor watch. I did also get a Tudor from the Real. That was definitely real. Like, I could feel the quality on that. It was called the 1926. It was beautiful, but it was a little heavy. And the 28, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to like be weighed down by that 28, but that bracelet quality was gorgeous. It felt like a real piece of jewelry. A little bit like how my Cartier bracelets feel. That's the nice thing about Cartier. Like, they're not known for their watches. They're not known for mechanical movements. But if you like the feel of like a luxury bracelet on your watch, then, you know, Cartier is good at that. Tudor is good at that. Rolex, of course, is good at that. But Rolex, vintage Rolex from the 90s is definitely a little more lightweight, a little shoddy. You're gonna be like, is this a fake? Maybe. It feels a little not as luxurious. I mean, even the Longines that I have here from, I think this is like maybe 2010s, feels much higher quality than this Rolex. But I don't know, I kind of like how lightweight this Rolex is. I think for the real, if you're buying the bottom of the barrel, the cheapest watch that they have in that line, you do have to be a little careful. It does say on the description that, you know, it was reviewed by a horologist, which is like, you know, the GIA specialist when it comes to jewelry. It's like the expert of watches. But I've also seen on Reddit that, you know, for some of these watches, it's not a horologist. It's just AI and some dude that's being staffed in that section. So if you guys are interested in the details of what I thought, why that my Rolex was a fake, I can definitely go into that. But honestly, this is a bag tube channel. I'm not going to turn into watch tube, so don't think you guys are going to be that interested. But anyways, this is my current collection. I do foresee myself adding a couple more. Let me know, what do you think about my little foray into watch tube? Is this a skip for you guys? For those who have made it all the way through, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.